Okay, well, for today's class, we're going to go through how to do some road right-of-way takes with Civil 3D and incorporate some of the parcel tools in doing that. So we're going to pretty much continue on from the project that we had going with the corridor model and the cross sections, which I have here up on my screen. One thing that you see I might have did different if you're really paying attention is I put a little jog here in the right-of-way. So maybe we're, going through this project and we do the widening section, and then we eventually see, hey, we're going to need some more right-of-way here on this side, and we take our right-of-way alignment, our proposed right-of-way alignment, and we bump that out to incorporate that right-of-way. Well, of course, that's going to automatically update on our cross sections for us, right? Because this is our right-of-way alignment that we made. So our cross sections will update for us, and if there's any assemblies tied to that for design, I don't know what you would have tied to your right-of-way, but maybe if you have it, your daylight fill go right out to your right-of-way line, that would update automatically as well. So you do get some automation there as soon as you bring that alignment out. Now, this being an alignment, we can do some more things with it as a right-of-way line and as an alignment. What I did from this point forward is I checked this file back in, so let's go ahead and do that. Now I'm going to check this file in. And then I'm going to make sure that my alignment, under my alignments here for data available for data referencing, I'm going to make sure my alignments are, or my right-of-way is one of those, is checked on, so it's available for data reference into another file. So I already went ahead and did that, so I'm going to hit finished here and check this in. So in our corridor file, that's where we'd have all the main design of the corridor model, maybe some additional alignments for right-of-way and so on and so forth. But really where we're going to do the parcels is in the, since it's transportation as the example here, in our T base, the T, the job number, and that's it, where you have maybe some labels, and we're going to put our parcels in there as well, and some other things, but the main designs in the corridor file itself for all your vertical. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new drawing, and I'm going to right-click on, go down here to Drawing Templates, right-click on my C3D 2009, hit Create New. You can see I already have a drawing up here. I'm going to close that Drawing 2 out. I already had open. And I'm just going to do a Save As and make a T file here. I already had one since I went through this. I'm just going to save on top of this. So we really want to get started with looking at it right away. So I'm going to XREF in our existing conditions-based file. So apparently the land development group must have got this base file in from another company and set up the existing conditions-based file, named it, and put L, job number EX. So the land development owns that, not HRG survey here. But then if that had an S in front of it, that would be HRG survey service group file. So I went ahead and XREF that file in, and here you can see what we have, some of the layers that are on at least. There's more information in there, this is just some of it. And you can see somebody's gone ahead and created the parcels, existing conditions parcels for us already on the north line here. And this is where that right-of-way is going to jut into it. So let's take a look at what impacts we're going to have. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my data referenced alignment in and go back over to Prospector here, bring this down to Projects, go under my project itself, and I'm going to bring in that right-of-way line as a data reference. Don't want to draw any alignment labels on it. The alignment style is the same style I had in the other drawing, the same spine. We're not going to add it to a site yet. Just going to leave it as none site. And the name, of course, we're going to leave it the same. Again, I'm going to change the label set to no display so I don't get any station labels along this alignment. And as you can see, bringing that alignment in, you can see it goes through these parcels. I'm going to need to do a right-of-way take here. In addition, these existing conditions parcels actually don't stop at the existing right-of-way. This line here, this red line here, As you can see my cursor going over top. That's the existing right-of-way line. So these parcels actually go to the center line of the road. They must be, older parcels or whatnot. So we can see how we can handle that. First, let's, knowing something about right-of-way plans, let's go look at some of the parcel numbering in the existing conditions file. So since I already have that file extract in, I can just click on it, right-click, and hit Open Extract. And I already have that file checked out. I'm going through this before. You can see it right here opened up. And if I hit Save, you can see it's going to mark that as being checked out because it knows it's opened up. Now let's go ahead and look at these parcel numbering. For right-of-way takes, this is something, you're going to have to excuse me a little bit. This is something I've never really done a right-of-way plan yet. So I'm taking some information I got from one of our guys here in transportation and looking through this and summarizing how we can use some of the parcel tools to get these plans out that I have here and looking at how we can incorporate some time-saving tools here and there. So one of the things that we look at is all the parcels in existing, we either show them with a circle as affected by a right-of-way take or not. So let's look at that here real quickly. Going to go into my existing drawing here, go under the site, and you can see the parcels that are in there were created under this proposed or property exist site. And if you go under the parcels pull down in there and you click on parcels itself, you can list all the parcels themselves. If you click on each individual one, you can get a little preview of what the parcel looks like. And if you click on parcels itself, you can see a whole list of them generated as well. If you go up higher in the prospector window and you click on property exist, you can get a little preview of a mosaic of all the parcels involved. And we're going to go through how to generate parcels just like these in our T file. So just, if you're waiting for that, just hang on a second. But first I want to look at these parcels and look at the numbering. You can see they have parcel numbers assigned. And in our road right-of-way plans, we usually have a lot number, a property identification number for each existing conditions parcel that's affected or not affected by the property, sort of in the area. So we want to pull that information out of our numbering here. So first I need to get an idea, is that numbered correctly? To add labels to all these parcels in the existing conditions file, all I need to do is click on the parcels category here. They all list below, and if I use my shift keys, highlight the bottom one and highlight the top, I can go over to the area label style, right click on the header, hit edit, and change this to property identification, DM3 property identification marker, and hit OK. What that's going to do is go through each parcel, and it's going to turn on a little property identification marker where I can see what the parcel numbers are. Okay, so they're in there and they're numbered. Although they're numbered, there doesn't seem to be a very specific order. They're just sort of, the numbering sort of random in there, somewhat ordered, but not ordered like we'd like it to be. So to be a little more orderly here, what I want to do is get these in a nice number sequence from the south to the north of the project, starting at parcel 1 here, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. Because this is really what's, on these right-of-way plans, how these properties are going to be referred to. So I don't want it just hodgepodge random like. And the person that created these existing conditions parcels probably wasn't paying attention to that because at the time it's, maybe they don't do right-of-way plans and don't know that that's a critical part of the job. So to renumber these, all I have to do is draw a polyline through the parcels in the direction that I want them to be numbered. I'm going to go ahead and click through here, making sure I don't have to click in each parcel, just the polyline needs to go through the parcel. As you can see, I didn't click in parcel 14, but the polyline does go through it. I can go up and renumber these parcels simply by going to the parcels pull down, edit parcels, rename, renumber parcels. So parcels pull down, edit parcels, rename, renumber. This is the site in the drawing, so you'd have to pick if there's multiple sites, I'd have to pick the correct one, but these parcels are on the property exist site. I want to start with parcel number 1, and I want to increment by 1 value. So I'm going to hit OK here, hit P for polyline, collect that polyline that I created there, hit enter, and you can see it selects all the parcels that are affected. Hit enter again, and you can see the little tag numbers on here automatically renumbered up through 1, up through what's the highest number we have here, 18, and you can even see parcel number 14 renumbered itself correctly. Okay, so that property number, or that polyline, I don't really need that anymore. I just want to get these numbers in order and make sure I'm in good shape there. I'm going to hit save. And another thing I'm going to look at is to make sure when they entered this information for me, did they enter, a lot of times this would be, if it's a totally in-house survey job or HRG job, and there's right-of-way takes involved, survey would probably go out and get deed plots of these, and they'd create a little deed plot mosaic, deed plot best fit mosaic kind of deal that would fit on this side. So if they're doing that for you, they might not have it numbered correctly, but you can go back and change that quickly, being in the transportation group. And also, you want to check on some information to make sure that they entered it in for you as well. So let's look at one of these parcels individually here and see if there's some data in there that we're going to want. So I'm going to click on the property ID number, right-click, hit Parcel Properties. I'm going to go to User-Defined Properties, and you can see not only do I have just some line work on the screen, but I also have the tax map number, the deed book and page number, and the owner information. So each parcel in this mosaic has that information for me. So this is almost a little bit of a combination between GIS and AutoCAD's world, where with parcels you can enter in user-defined information. This you could add any kind of information you want in here, as many rows and columns that we desire. So if there's more information that's needed for a right-of-way take plan, that can be added to this as well. But that information's added by our survey group, so that's good. It's already there. So we're essentially done with this file. One thing you might want to do for cleanup as well is you can see this right-of-way line, the existing right-of-way line here is a red right-of-way line, and it's just a polyline. And if I look at the properties of that, that's just a standard AutoCAD polyline. So in this case, to make this mosaic, they actually had to have double the line work on top of each other, right? Because there's a deed line that goes right on top of the right-of-way line. And that needed to be, that deed line needed to be drawn on top of there because of the way parcels work, which we'll cover here in just a second, because we're going to have to make a second set of these parcels in another drawing. And you say, well, I don't want to show that. I get line type issues and whatnot. Well, an easy way to, have it that this line is on a separate layer is if you look at, when I highlight this property line here, and you go up to the C3, you go up to your layer dialog here, you can see it's on the C3D parcel seg layer. And all these segments are on that same layer. So an easy way to make it so I can freeze this line and turn it off is just use our HRG utility. Go to HRG, Layer Utilities, maybe use the Move to Dem layer command, click that line, hit enter. Line doesn't erase, it just puts it on makes a new layer and puts it on the C3D Parcels-DEM layer. Well, now I can use my layer freeze commands here and freeze that layer. It's there, that line is there for information for the parcels to generate correctly because you have to have a closed object. But you don't see it on your plan view, and so you get the best of both worlds. So use that to your advantage when needed in certain situations, like over there, and same thing over here. You have double line work on top of each other, so we could just move those on demo layers. And now, actually, since we already made that layer, and demoed it or froze it, I can just go ahead and use our HRG utility, move to DEM, pick those couple of lines I don't want to see, and they'll move over as well. I must have made that on a double layer there. Oops. Yeah. A little goof up when I made this drawing. I have this on a seg layer, so it put it on the wrong, made another DEM layer, so I can just manually do that. Usually you wouldn't have that issue. So you can see that froze as well. Okay, so let's get out of this drawing. This is good to go. I want to turn these labels off though, so let's go back into our prospector. I'm going to right click on, or click on the parcels here, so they show all in list down here below. I'm going to go to the area label style, right click on that again, hit edit, and set this to no display. Now when I set that to no display, you'll see little red dots show up in the center of each parcel. Now that red dot won't plot, so any of the parcel no display styles will always show you this little red dot. And the reason that red dot it needs to be there is going to be evident. You know, we could have it that that dot's not there, but you need something in these XRF drawings to pick on to label these parcels. So I chose to put a little dot there. It's on color 10, so it won't plot or anything, but that's what we want to get. All right, save this drawing, close it out. I'm not going to check it in for now. Okay, so I'm in my T drawing here that I just created, and you know, since I saved my survey, I have to update the XRF, and should be good there. Now, here's where parcels are a little interesting. The existing parcels, we can do some information with those. We can get some information out of those in labeling. And one of the tables here that I saw that we need to do is look at property identification numbers and label those in a plan. So it will list, you know, what the property ID number is, the owner, and then the parcel tax map and deed book and page number. So let's take care of that. So we're doing all the existing conditions stuff, and then we'll jump into proposed. To do that, I'm going to create a new file again. So this would be more of our plan sheet. So this will be, you know, I put this in my plan set directory, but say it's going to be T my T job number EX or EC file, existing conditions file. Go ahead and save that. I'm going to XREF in my survey file. Brand new file, just XREF in that's one survey file. Do zoom extents, and there I can see it. Well, one of the things I need is that table. So how can I quickly achieve that table since the data is already there? Well, I can simply go into Parcels, Add Parcel Table, and right here I have a DM3 Property Tabulation Existing table. That's in our template. Let's go ahead and select that table. And then you can see down here it says no parcels selected, so I'm going to go ahead and check that checkbox. And I'm going to go in here and pick these little red dots so you can see why we need those dots now. And I go through and pick all the parcels up through the line. It's going to take time to do that. Just going to hit enter, hit OK, and then you can see I have a nice property tabulation table for labeling all these property information on my existing condition sheet. One of the things I changed in this template recently, but I wanted to leave off so I could show you how to edit these templates a little bit, or these tables, is I changed the justification to all left. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here. If I want to change anything on this table, I just right click on it, hit edit table style. And I want to go under, you know, the first column here is property ID, which has all the numbers, the owner, and then the tract information. I'm going to go under the owner's column here, and what you get here is, this is the property, or this is the table name. So if I double click on this, I can actually edit the table name. If I double click on each of these headers, I can edit the header name, but they don't show up in this table, the current style at least. And then if I want to edit the column value, I can go down and double click on where it says owner. I'm going to go to format and then change this from center to left, justified. Same thing for the parcel. Going to go to the format tab here and change this from center to left, justified. And maybe I do want to turn on those headers so I can see that information. And I go under the display. And I think these are pretty self-explanatory what they all mean. So the header text, and I make that visible. Hit OK. Now you can see it's justified left, and I have the headers above it shown. So it's just a little bit, if it's not displaying or showing exactly how you want it to look, go ahead and feel free to edit that. It only changes it in this one file. Another thing to keep in mind, all the labeling that we want to do is actually going to be in the plan sheet here. So we can do that with Civil 3D 2009 all through the XREF. So I'm going to go to Parcels again, go to Add Parcel Labels, Add Parcel Labels, and I'm going to change this to my label type to area, and I'm going to use this property DM3 property ID notate and property ID label style here. So I'm going to hit add, and I know that this property, this one, and this one are not affected by the right-of-way take. So I'm going to go ahead and label those. And the ones up farther here as well, I think my right-of-way take ends right here, and I'd go ahead and click on those. Maybe that's as far as I need to go. And the ones in between, maybe those I do need to take. So I'm going to change the style here. Just do the property ID. Using those little dots. I don't know if you can see that, but what I'm clicking that little red dot, and it's labeling through the XREF that information. So this label now in this drawing is, I can move it around wherever I want, but it's still linked to the existing conditions file. So if those parcel numbers get renamed or renumbered, that would change in this file automatically. So it's important to realize that. Same thing for bearings and distances. If you wanted to label some bearings and distances in this sheet, just go to Parcels, Add Parcel Labels, Single Segment, and you have a whole slew of parcel label styles in here to label this. If you want to do tags and to do a table, I can do DM3 tag. Put my tag numbers on there. If you're at a point you want to change the numbers, a lot of people skip this, or they miss over, they don't see this. You can always hit table tag numbers here and change this value to start from any number you want and go from there. So I'd add all my tags in that I need to label everything up. Another thing in here to keep in mind is, so as you're numbering tags, you can renumber, or putting the tags around for all existing bearings and distances, you can renumber any of those tags at any time. So say you get them all in there and you want to renumber the whole slew of them, you can always go down to Parcels, Add Table for some reason. It's under Add Table. And then renumber tags. And then you can pick those tags and renumber them. So if I hit that, maybe I start at 3 and I want to change that number to, I don't know, 5 or something. You can renumber a tag to a different sequence number there. To insert your table for bearings and distances, it's the same as Land Desktop was. You just go to Parcels, Add Table. I'm going to do a line table. Here it's a little goofy. What you can do is you can pick the tags you want to specifically add to your line table, or I can select a style. So I'm going to do it the entire style. So what I need to do is look through this this confusing list here. Unfortunately, it's a little hard to see, but I want to look for the DM3 tag proposed. You can see it right there, and I'm going to check that checkbox, and then it's going to read all the tags that were used this style to place that tag label, and it's going to make a table from all of those. So I'm going to hit OK, and there's our line and curve table. I think I actually picked the wrong style, so let me right-click on this table style. Right, sorry. I'm going to right-click on this, hit Table Properties. I'm going to switch this to the DM3 bearing and distance, and that's the DM3 format, where it's length before bearing instead of bearing before length. Okay, so that's our right-of-way, our existing conditions plan, and some of the features you can use there. Let's talk about the proposed and the actual take. I'm going to switch back to my T file here, my transportation design file. And in this file, what I need to do is I want to actually incorporate this right-of-way line in and see what that splits these parcels into. You know, how much area in each portion of the parcel, since I'm going to take this entire area, you know, through here. So I'm going to sort of clean up the old property and also take an additional 10 feet from the right-of-way. So again, this is where the goofy part of parcels is. You actually have to have sets of parcels, and let's look at that real quick here. So, and we're not used to this, and this is, in land you didn't function this way. You actually did, but nobody really used parcels in land. Parcels was a pull down that you'd use to get areas, maybe, and generate legal descriptions, but nobody actually used the line work from that parcels pull down. You drew the stuff in with polylines, maybe made parcels. It was almost like a piece of data that you never really used to show on the plan sheet. Well, in Civil 3D, you actually see the parcels. So the concept of how they work, we have to reinforce, and you're going to have parcel sets. So the existing set of parcels is going to be in our S job number EX file, or our existing conditions-based file, whoever, you know, our file here, it's the L job number EX. But those are the existing parcels, so that's a set of parcels in there. So we don't want to mess with those for this right-of-way take. You know, it's existing, that's how it is today. You know, you don't touch them. They're in there, it's existing conditions. The subdivision set, or the set for the take, where we're going to pull out the different values for area and see how it affects all the parcels, that's going to be a whole different set of parcel data. So you do have some, essentially some tracing over top of the different parcel sets. And then the final, that's more for a land development. I don't think on right-of-way takes that you guys actually show the final, what it needs to be at the end of the day after the take, you know, a clean map just showing the new right-of-way in that take. But if you'd want to label the areas for that, what the property owner would have after this take takes place, you'd have a final set of parcels. So right now we're going to make this second set. The existing set was already done. We're going to make this second set here, which is the subdivision parcels, or the take parcels, if you want to say that this is a take. See if I can draw one here. There you go. There's our take set. All right, to do that, I did take some liberties to speed things along here. Essentially what you would do is you would trace over this with line work. So I would come through here and trace over the existing parcels, you know, with polylines. And when I'm doing that, it's important that I don't just do this willy-nilly. It's important that I do this how the subdivision was actually, or how the parcels are actually set up. You notice when I traced over top of this, I didn't snap from here to here to here to here to here. No, that's just one line, one bearing distance, and all these properties go and butt up to it. So it's important to do that for labeling your bearings and distances. And we'll see that in a second here. And let me erase this information because I actually have this tracing part already done to an extent. Let me bring that in. All right, so I have this all traced over already, and you can see I have this as one constant line, and brought it in up to this point. So I'm going to unload my existing conditions XREF. I'm going to leave it there, just unload it. I'm going to turn these are just all lines, arcs, and polylines. But I'm going to turn these parcels, or turn these lines, arcs, and polylines into parcels. So to do that, I'm going to come up to my parcel pull down and hit create parcel from objects. Krieger. Mike Krieger asked, could you just copy and paste from the EX file? Well, that's a great question, Mike. Unfortunately, it's a yes and no. If the existing conditions were done with parcels to begin with, then I don't think you can, because the existing conditions, your parcels don't copy and paste like that. It's a civil 3D object at that point. Now, if they were done with lines and arcs, then yeah, you could copy and paste the AutoCAD entities into this drawing and explode them, and then you could make parcels out of that. So it's a yes and no. I haven't figured out a really good way to take the line and the line information from the existing file and bring it across and to convert it into parcels. Since they're civil 3D objects already, it just doesn't work that well. I wish they had a better solution for that, but that's what we're stuck with. And maybe in the future I'll figure out a better way to do this. But right now I'm down at, still what I think is the best way is just to trace it out again. So, but great question. So I'm going to go to Parcels, Create Parcels from Objects. I'm going to go ahead and window all these. Make sure I don't want to get that right-of-way line. This red line through here is my right-of-way line. My right-of-way alignment, actually. Okay, so those are parcel. They're selected now. Hit enter. I'm going to bring these into my parcel proposed site. When you load up our template, you have 3 sites that are empty to choose from, just to get people thinking on the right, path here. Survey is usually where all the survey feature lines go. If survey is making, and maybe we should put a 4th empty one in there. When survey is creating existing parcels, they should make up a parcels existing, just like there's a parcels proposed, to put the parcels in their own separate site, or the survey figures start to interfere with the parcel. That's a different thing. But for our parcels proposed here, we're going to choose this parcel proposed, and that's just an empty site, just a shell. Just trying to get the workflow moving in the right direction for people. I know it's a little different here. And I can choose any style really here I want. It depends how you want it to display. Right now we're going to put this on the HRG deed layer, just like they were coming into the, starting this whole thing. It was a deed mosaic. We're just going to leave those the same style. So it's the same layer. It's going to put the line work on 10 deed. And the area label style, we're just going to leave that as no display as well. And we're going to have on here checked erase existing objects. So it's going to erase these lines, arcs, and polylines and convert those into parcel segments. Hit OK. And you can see pretty much we have the same thing that we had in the existing conditions plan. Same areas, it's the same information. So I'm going to hit save there. And really what we want to do is sort of link this alignment for this this right-of-way take into it. So when I brought this in to the when I data referenced it into this drawing, you can remember when I specified bringing that data reference in. Let me go look at bring another one in here real quick. I right-clicked on it, hit create reference. Where it said for site here, I left it as none because I wanted to show you this point by moving this now at this stage. But I easily could have, when I first brought that data reference in, set this site to parcels proposed. And I see a lot of people doing that, and typically when you're making an alignment for anything else, always have it set to the site to none. You don't want to have alignments a part of a site, ever. Hardly ever. This is the one situation that I know of that we use currently that we'd want to have a site or an alignment a part of a site. So I already have this alignment data reference in. I can just right-click on it, hit move to site, and instead of being under none, I'm going to move that to my parcels proposed layer or site, and hit OK, and hit regen there, and I'll show you here why that turned off. This is an isolation, so it moved that onto a different layer that's turned off. And what you can see is I actually have two sets of parcel information now. So let's might undo. Yeah, I think that's probably good practice moving it. Yeah, repair. There it is. Doing these classes, I move files around so many times. I had a broken data reference link there. Sorry about that. So now that I have that back in here, let's see what we get. I might just re-data reference this in instead of messing with this. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. So I'm going to delete that alignment. I'm going to re-data reference it in. It seems like moving the site and me going through this twice and deleting stuff and starting over always gives it a little bit of a hiccup. I'm going to hit create reference here for my left right away. Set it to parcels proposed for my site, and then set this to no display. Hit OK, and there you go. There it is. So that alignment now being a part of this site split these proposed parcels into two. So now there's a parcel on the north side and the south side of this alignment. What's better is, if that alignment gets moved in design, things are all linked up. So now my cross sections change. So say this alignment gets edited in the corridor model. You're tasked with doing part of the right-of-way take. Say somebody in the corridor model is designing and move this to a further right-of-way or put a jog in it like this. It will update automatically in your parcel drawing. And all your labels generated from this point forward will automatically change. And the cross sections that somebody else did, they'll change as well. So you get that data linking in between these files, which is really the whole point of Civil 3D to begin with. Okay, so now we have these parcels that are split into two. How can we leverage some of this information as well? Well, let's say we make up a new plan sheet drawing here that we want to label all this information in. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll talk about some of the little nuances here with labeling parcels. Hit create a new drawing. Save as. T, job number, PL for my plan sheet view here. I'm going to extract in my T file, my T design base, attached from Vault. Here's that T base. there's my parcels. I can do a couple things. I can label the bearings and distances now with tags or with line bearings and distances. At this point, that's really the what we're doing. It's all about labeling at this point. Some other things is I can do some station and offset labels. So let's look at doing some station offsets and some line work, some line bearing and distance labels on here as well. Let's go into my project here, and I want to data reference in the road center line for the project. Create reference. Not going to add any bearings and distances to that, or stations and offsets. It's going to bring that file in, that data reference in, and go up to annotation, add label, or go to general, add label, either one. Changes to alignment, station offset, fixed point. Pick my data reference, and then I can label, using existing or proposed labels. If you want to, drag this station offset label up to the left or the right, go ahead and do that, and then the leader generates for you automatically. If you grab this, you notice this says DM3 station offset proposed left. There's also one for proposed right. So if you grab this and you move this to the right side of where your station offset, you see how it's a little messed up looking. You can right click on it, hit edit label style, and change this to DM3 station offset proposed right. And you can see there's two styles, one if it's on the right side, one if it's on the left side. Unfortunately, that's what we have to do it to have it display like we want it to. But hey, you don't have to create the leader anymore. So, and it's dynamic to the alignment. So you have some time savings there to deal with that little bit of style magic. An important point that I also wanted to make is you don't need to, I data reference this alignment in just because of ease. So say if I didn't do it that method. An easier method, quite frankly, is to simply XREF the corridor drawing into this file. So I'm going to just get rid of my data reference, just do an XREF, and bring in that corridor file that has that alignment in it already. Okay, here's my corridor drawing, has that alignment in it. Can use the same tools. Just go to General, Add Label, change this to alignment, station offset, fixed point. I'm going to do left here, hit Add, pick the alignment just like I did if it's data referenced. And go ahead and label any of the critical points that I want to. Okay. So you can label either by bringing in a data reference or bringing in an XREF, okay? Usually I do the XREF method, just to keep things simple. Everything's XREF. All right. One thing to keep in mind if you do the XREF method, if I unload this XREF, so I have this corridor XREF I brought in, if I do an unload, the labels are going to turn off, which is sort of a nice feature. And when you unload it, you don't want to see that line work. I don't really want to see the labels either. If I do a reload, the labels show back up. If I detach this, where is it? It's up here. If I detach this XREF, now those labels will automatically delete themselves. So you do got to watch if you bring in XREF drawings into another file, label a whole bunch of stuff using the picking some of the Civil 3D features to get the automatic labeling. You don't want to detach those XREFs Because if you detach the XREF, it's going to delete all the labels. If the XREF becomes unreferenced because you're moving files around, it doesn't delete the labels in that situation. You just have to repath the XREF down here. You click on it, you can go down here to the found at and retarget this, going to your C drive, because that's where all the files are, and then you'll be fine. Labeling bearings and distances, same as the existing. I'm going to come into Parcels, add labels, add parcel labels, do single segment, do DM3 tags, hit add, and now when I do it for this parcel, this tag is only going to tell me the distance between here and the right-of-way line. Another little tricky thing that gets you on this one, and for better or for worse, this is how it is. But if I click the right-of-way line, you see I don't get a, why do I not get a tag? I'm on tag. Why did I get a bearing and distance? Well, because this is still an alignment. It's not a parcel segment. So you really need to switch over to alignment. Single segment, and select the DM3 tag as well here. Hit add, and then that's going to give you the right-of-way segment. Okay? And generating tables is pretty much the same information. So, it's pretty straightforward. I think the big difference there is, you have to have two sets of parcels, existing and proposed. Some little things that might not be self-evident is if I go to Parcels here, and maybe I want to, right now this is going to show me, if I label these areas, for example, let's just do this real quick. Say I'm just going to label this with I'm just going to label this with a right-of-way area. Hit add. I'm going to pick each one of these little nodes. And you can see I get two distinct areas there. Well, if you have the proposed set of parcels and you want them to not be separated by area, you still want this to show the overall property area, what you need to do is union those parcels together. So let's go look at that here. Switch back to my T drawing. This is where the parcels reside. And say I want these to show, if I click on this little node here, this is a parcel, and this is a parcel here. If I want those to show as one area, I can click on one of them, right-click, and hit edit areas. No. Edit. I'm sorry, can't do a right-click apparently. To go up here to Parcels, hit Edit Parcel Segments. There we go. And I can union these two parcels together. So under my drop-down here, hit Parcel Union. Pick this parcel, and it unions them together to be one existing conditions parcel, or one parcel, through the entire site. I don't know if you'd need to do that or whatnot in right-of-way plans, but that's available. I can always ununion it as well. Edit parcel segments again, pick on one of the segments, dissolve parcel union, pick the parcel, and it splits it into two. Is there any questions on does anybody have here? I mean, it's at this point, it's really about the labeling. From what I tell on, like I said, I've never really done a right-of-way plan, but from what I tell, you're basically labeling the property IDs, station and offsets, and generating a whole bunch of tables with bearing and disc line work tables. There's another piece on right-of-way plans that seems like it's a real pain, is the summary of project coordinates, or the summary of right-of-way coordinates, where you list the right-of-way, and at every point where there's a bend or break, it has a station and offset from the center line, what that is, if it's just a break, a PC, a PT, the northing and easting coordinates of that, and then the bearing along that line. I don't have a good solution in Civil 3D to give you that table automatically at this point. So I leave that up to the folks that do this, if they can figure out how to have that reference across. I can easily give you a bearing and distance table of this alignment, this right-of-way alignment, but to have that referenced off the center line, I don't know how to do that in a table. I don't know if that's a function available yet to do that. And that seems like it would take a good amount of time. So unfortunately, it's just not there yet. Just keep in mind, though, when you are labeling all this information, the more you can label using the program, the better. Anything that's number-wise, it seems like we're talking about simple stuff in this class, but all the projects I look at, people are still labeling stuff with MTEX and DTEX, all their station and offsets, and it's just, even in Civil 3D, don't do that. It's a waste of time. The program runs a little slower, right? Because it's all this dynamic linking. Well, if you don't take advantage of the automatic stuff, it's going to take you longer to get a project done, not faster. So you have to use it to make it faster, and use it and leverage it to get the job done quicker. All right, well, if there's no questions, I don't see any questions on the board. I appreciate everybody attending. Sorry this wasn't a big power session. I think it's basically just do your parcels, and everything's, from this point, it's just the labeling. But if you do have specific questions, feel free to give me a call, extension 213. I know this parcel stuff, it's probably you have questions at the moment you're trying to get a plan done. Give me a call. Don't get hung up on stuff. Thanks, everybody. And I'll hang on the line here for a little bit to answer any questions. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.